The chilling chronicles of Ted Bundy. He was charming, intelligent, even handsome, a man who looked more like a politician than a predator. But behind Ted Bundy's smile lay a darkness so profound, it still sends shivers down America's spine. How did a law student become one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history? Stay with us, because this is the true story of Ted Bundy. And it's darker than you think. A normal beginning? Born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, Bundy's early life was enveloped in confusion and secrecy. Raised to believe his grandparents were his parents, and his mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, was his elder sister, Ted existed in a world constructed on deception. His true parentage wasn't revealed to him until he was a teenager, learning that his father was a war veteran he had never known. As a child, Bundy exhibited troubling behaviors that would later become alarmingly significant in his criminal profile. He often pondered over violent and sadistic materials, including crime novels and horror stories. Yet, to the outside world, he appeared to be an ordinary boy. When Eleanor moved to Tacoma, Washington, with her son at the age of 4 and later married Johnny Bundy, it marked the beginning of Ted's turbulent adolescence. Even as a young boy, Bundy was bright and articulate, but he struggled with social interactions. He often felt out of place among his peers, leading to feelings of isolation. As he grew older, those feelings morphed into something more sinister. Around this time, he began engaging in disturbing behaviors, like putting knives under family members' beds and stealing items from neighbors, showcasing early signs of the deviant behavior that would later define him. What if the charming boy next door wasn't just misunderstood, but was already honing the mask he'd later use to kill? The college years and the first fracture. In the early 1970s, Bundy enrolled at the University of Washington, where he became involved in social activism and politics, portraying himself as a caring and engaged citizen. It was here he met the elegant Stephanie Brooks, a socially elite woman who represented everything Bundy aspired to be. They began dating, but when Brooks ended the relationship, citing his lack of ambition and future direction, it left a profound impact on Bundy's psyche. Devastated, he became obsessed with self-improvement, re-enrolling in college and immersing himself in various activities that would bolster his image. Bundy's transformation included a calculated charm offensive to win back Stephanie, which, when successful, culminated in a cold-hearted act of betrayal. He dumped her, asserting he had become the man she had always wanted, but it was merely a facade. More than a mere breakup, this event marked a shift in Bundy's psyche. It ignited a vengeful spark within him and set the stage for his future atrocities. Around this time, young women began to vanish amidst rising tensions in the Pacific Northwest. The disappearances began. In 1974, Seattle and surrounding areas were rocked by a spate of mysterious abductions. Young, attractive women with long brown hair parted down the middle, eerily similar to Stephanie Brooks, began to disappear without a trace. The victims included Linda and Healy, who vanished from her basement bedroom in January. The scene was haunting, her bed neatly made, but she was no longer there. In quick succession, other young women, including Donna Manson and Susan Rancourt, who fit a similar profile, went missing. Local authorities were at a loss, grappling with a chilling, unfolding mystery. What if the man helping search for the victims was the one who took them? Bundy's ability to ingratiate himself into the fabric of the community allowed him to evade suspicion. He would frequently fake injuries, using crutches or a sling, to gain sympathy from unsuspecting women. When they offered assistance, he struck. His approach was methodical. He would bludgeon his victims, abduct them, and transport them to secluded sites where unspeakable acts occurred. Bundy later admitted to returning to the crime scenes to engage in further horrific acts with the corpses. These weren't merely murders. They were rituals crafted from his twisted fantasies. The killer slips up, but not for long. By 1975, Bundy's careless disregard for the law culminated in a pivotal moment. While driving in Utah, he was pulled over, and officers discovered handcuffs, a ski mask, a crowbar, and an ice pick, all integral tools indicative of his grisly intentions. This traffic stop marked a critical point of his undoing. He was arrested and linked to the kidnapping of Carol Duranch, a young woman who managed to escape his clutches by trusting her instincts. Her testimony was vital in securing his conviction. This stunning turn of events led to a 15-year prison sentence for Bundy. However, this would not be the end of his reign of terror. How does a man escape not once, but twice from high-security custody? Bundy escapes and strikes again. In 1977, Bundy executed a daring escape from a Colorado courthouse. He had been representing himself during a hearing and seized the opportunity to leap from a second-floor window. Although he was caught 8 days later, he quickly devised a more ambitious escape plan. He managed to saw through a ceiling panel, losing over 30 pounds to slip through a crawl space to freedom. By the time law enforcement realized he was missing, he was already far beyond their reach. This time, he fled south to Florida, where he resumed his murderous spree almost immediately. On January 15, 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In a horror spree that lasted mere minutes, he brutally attacked 4 women. In just 15 minutes, he had left 2 of them dead. Shortly after, he abducted and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, further solidifying his status as one of America's most formidable serial killers. The trial of the century. Bundy's trial marked a significant moment in American legal and media history. It was one of the first cases to be televised nationally, and Bundy's decision to represent himself transformed a judicial proceeding into a media spectacle. He captivated audiences with his charm, often smiling and engaging with court personnel, seemingly oblivious to the gravity of the charges against him. In a shocking display of emotional manipulation, Bundy proposed to Carol and Boone during the trial. She accepted, and their relationship seemed to thrive even in the confines of prison, resulting in the birth of a child. Bundy's ability to maintain a semblance of normalcy in the face of his heinous crimes bewildered both the court and the public. How does a man accused of murdering over 30 women gain fans, a wife, and even a child behind bars? Despite his theatrical courtroom antics, Bundy faced inevitable justice. He attempted to delay his execution through numerous appeals, often offering to reveal the locations of undiscovered victims in exchange for his life. The execution and legacy. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in Florida's electric chair. The event drew a multitude, with crowds cheering for justice, dancing, and celebrating the end of a terrifying chapter in American history. Signs bearing slogans such as "Burn Bundy Burn" filled the air, capturing the public's thirst for closure. Bundy confessed to 30 murders, but investigators believe his true victim count could exceed 100. His impact extended beyond these staggering numbers. It left a haunting legacy in the realm of criminology, shaping how society views serial killers. He became a tragic case study, illustrating how an outwardly charismatic individual can hide horrifying darkness behind a polished facade. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the complexities of evil and human nature. Conclusion. Beneath the surface, the enduring legacy of Ted Bundy. When the switch was thrown on January 24, 1989, and 2,000 volts surged through Ted Bundy's body, many believed a nightmare had ended. But in truth, Bundy's story didn't die with him. It merely entered a new, unsettling phase, one where the public, criminologists, and even aspiring killers began to study, mythologize, and in some disturbing cases, idolize him. Bundy's crimes were not just about murder. They were about control, domination, and erasure. He didn't just take lives. He tried to obliterate his victims' identities. He mutilated them. He revisited their remains. He kept trophies. And to this day, some of those young women remain missing, never found, never given a proper burial. Their families still live with questions that only Bundy could have answered. He carefully crafted a dual life, one of a respectable, clean-cut man who worked on political campaigns, attended law school, and even volunteered at a suicide hotline, while secretly acting out some of the most brutal crimes in American history. His ability to manipulate, to mask his predatory nature, has become one of the most studied examples of psychopathy and malignant narcissism in the field of forensic psychology. Even professionals weren't immune to his charm. Psychiatrists described his demeanor as superficially normal. One judge at his sentencing famously said, "You'd have made a good lawyer. I'd have loved to have you practice in front of me." Those words still send chills down the spine of anyone who understands the magnitude of Bundy's horrors. After his death, the FBI continued to analyze Bundy's behavior to build better psychological profiles. His case became foundational in the development of criminal profiling and behavioral analysis, a legacy that now helps law enforcement understand how serial killers think and operate. Bundy was even interviewed by the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit, and those recordings still serve as chilling educational material for new agents. But perhaps the most disturbing part of his legacy is the influence he had on future predators. Some, like Israel Keyes and Danny Rolling, openly cited Bundy as an inspiration. His fame became a grotesque model for those seeking infamy through violence. And then there were the fans, the so-called Bundy files. Women who wrote to him in prison, proposed marriage, and viewed him not as a monster, but as a misunderstood anti-hero. That twisted fascination led to books, documentaries, and even movies, some of which controversially focused on Bundy's charm rather than his cruelty. This fascination speaks to something deeper, a cultural blind spot. Ted Bundy forces us to ask, how many other predators wear masks? How many more walk among us right now? Untouched, unsuspected, unnoticed? Because Bundy didn't look like the boogeyman. He looked like someone you'd invite over for dinner, someone you'd trust with your sister, someone you'd never suspect, until it was far too late. And maybe that's the most terrifying truth of all. He wasn't just a killer, he was a warning. A reminder that evil doesn't always growl. Sometimes it smiles. And perhaps the most chilling part? He wasn't the end. He was just the beginning of America's obsession with serial killers hiding in plain sight. Bundy's legacy remains, serving as a horrifying reminder of the darkness that exists within and among us all. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel Cyber Theo.